Well, I went and picked up some parts today. It's my first day working on my snow equipment. Last year I pulled apart the harness on the one of our larger tractors. I got the wear on that. I think that's a 3/4 inch bolt. There's 5/8 stainless steel. Yeah, that has to be replaced. So it's outside. I went and bought some new cutting edge bolts. These were $1.97 each. About 16 for two different plows. I changed the one on my truck last year, but the other two plows need to be done. So that's a grade 8 bolt. There's the old one. I could reuse these, but you know, for $1.97, I just bought all new ones. And what I did was I tried to get something like this in grade 8. They don't have them, so there's what I got. These were even cheaper. These were $1.60 something. So that's a slightly bit shorter, but they should work. These won't break. You know, you can torque like crazy on these with the impact gun, breaker bar or whatever, and they won't break. These little grade 5s, they just shear right off. So that's the plan with that. And I was just running this thing, man, full pin for 10 minutes trying to get a bunch of bolts out of the harness. I'll show you it's outside. It's badly broken, but I was really... my plan was to change that harness, fix it all in the spring, and we just never had time. So, it's outside. Now there's a chunk of steel for you. This side's not in too bad a shape. Got a little bent where you see the paint is peeled off. That's from flexing. We had to cut these two bolts off, so the grinder left a few marks here. They made a huge notch to go around a little piece of sheet metal on the tractor up here. And that really weakened this piece. This is 4.5 inch flat bar by 1/2 inch thick. And then by cutting it like that, you've lost, you know, almost half your strength. So that's exactly where it broke on the other side down here. So this is the inside view. It cracked here, and then as soon as it broke there probably was some metal fatigue in this piece here, so that broke clean through too. I'm just going to take the torch tomorrow and we're just going to cut all that off. I'm going to cut this whole section right out, cut all along those wells there. It's really the only thing holding it, and there's a well behind here. There's a piece of flat bar in here, you can see. And then I found a piece of 5/8, and I kind of drew out some lines here. So we have enough material to make a whole new piece. One solid piece instead of 3 pieces welded together, which was fine. This has been plowing snow since 2003, I think. So that's 14 winters of pushing snow. So pushing hard. You can't really blame the design or if you can get 14 years, that's pretty good. So, you know, something's bound to give eventually somewhere. And I think what happened was there's a couple of different things that happened at that site. They dug a trench across the road, and we ripped the center pin right out of that plow. And probably some damage occurred to this at that time. Maybe a, you know, partial crack in this section right here. Maybe a little bit of damage there, but you know, who's to say? And then last year they dumped a load of crushed stone. There's a contractor doing some work there, and he dumped a load of crushed stone on a handicap spot, and they asked us to remove that snow. And we didn't know it was 3/4 crushed stone, 0 to 3/4 frozen pile of crushed stone. So we went over there and bumped into it, and it doesn't take much. You got a 6,000 or 8,000 pound tractor bumping into something that solid. You know, could have done a little damage there as well. So tomorrow I'll just update you at the beginning and the end of maybe lunchtime every day. And we're going to try and cut this piece out tomorrow with the torch. Drill 3 holes. There's only 3 holes. It shouldn't take very long. I got that one big 1 inch. I think that's a 1 inch hole there. And I got 2 5/8 holes over here, there and there. And pretty simple. Weld that in. I got to drill the holes, bolt it on the tractor, and tack weld. Do as much welding as I can while it's on the tractor, so that when I do pull it off and get in behind, do my other welds, it shouldn't warp. We are after a morning of I cut the torch, ground all the edges clean, drilled the 3 holes. Had a heck of a time with this 1-inch hole over here. We have a 13-inch drill press, and a hole saw would work great, but I think that you can just kind of see the corners of that are just a little rounded over. I think if I'd have went with a round file, it's just a touch, yeah, I think it would cut through wood fine, but steel, it's just a little bit too dull. And this bit here is just, I ground it 3-4 times. It's just too much for that 13-inch. It just tears the corners right off. It's spinning too fast. But the 5/8 holes went fine, and you know what? There's happens to be a 3rd hole on the frame, and if I'd have extended this out about 3/4 of an inch, we could have had a 3rd hole. But what I think I'm going to do is just weld a little piece out here and have that bolt in there. I think it's going to be right there. I don't even think I need a piece on here, but more is better, I always say. So that's all done. Over here, I just took the torch and cut that right out this morning. We just still have to clean it up. I might take the torch, cut a little more of these old welds off. It's hard on the grinding wheels. And in here, that's all got to be cleaned up. So I noticed a few little cracks. There's a crack right there, you can see. And there's a crack on the other side. Down that weld's got a crack right along there. It's hard to see, but I think what I really should do is just cut this whole side off and do the same thing. You know, I think it would be the smart choice, but the problem is these holes are too hard to drill, so it'd take another hour to drill another hole. I'm still playing with the idea and change this whole center plate. You know, because it's got the crack there. Who knows what else is cracked? I may add a gusset in here, and maybe I'm definitely going to put a piece in here, a triangle gusset, and then maybe come off here, another gusset here. So, you know, I don't want to be doing this again in a year or 2 years. Once is enough. So that's where we're at. So this is what's left of the old piece. You can see where they made that notch right around there. And it broke above and below the bolt hole here. So a bit of a weak point, and it broke along here. So I think it did its duty. It did, 14 years of plowing snow. So although it's a lot quicker to make one solid piece like I did than to be welding up 3-4.5 inch pieces. You got a lot more cutting to do and fitting and welding, and still it's not as strong. So I think it's a better choice to go with the 5/8, one solid piece. And I'm really tempted. If I didn't have to drill that 1-inch hole in the other side, I'd make the other one. I wouldn't even think twice about it. I'm still playing with it. I might do it. I think we should. There could be other cracks in there I haven't seen yet. But I looked over the frame on the tractor, and see, there's that 3rd hole. I don't see any cracks. I don't see anything wrong with the frame. I think this steel here is much better quality steel. It's thicker. And the welds are just like right out of the factory. And this side too, it's got the 3rd hole. Yeah, so I think I might make a new piece for this side and extend that back a little bit, right to about there, and then we'll have 3 holes on the sides. So that's where we're at. It's coming. This. I went ahead, I caved, and I made both side pieces. So it's laying There's the top, there's the bottom, front. Yeah, that's kind of how it goes. And then the lift frame, there's a big piece of angle. It just sits on top of here, and I weld that on. So I made a new center plate in the front. It was full of cracks. There was a crack on each side. There was probably micro cracks I couldn't see. These magnets are great for assembly work. But next I'm gonna bolt it on the tractor tomorrow. I have to do a little more cleanup. I got the 2 notches I have to do. I'm gonna make them as small as I can. There's a little piece of metal that comes down right here. That was the weak point on the other one. The guy cut 1.5 inches, and I think you only need to cut about 5/8 of an inch maybe. And got a lot of welding to do, and clean it up and paint it. I went and bought a new hole saw at lunchtime. These 1-inch holes are not easy to drill through 5/8 plate, but I bought a new hole saw. We drilled this one and it went really well. My drill is way too small. My drill press. I got a 13-inch. It's got the 2-step pulleys, or 3-step pulleys. So the middle one here gives you a better range. I can go down to 250 RPM, 60. Yeah, 250. That's as slow as I can get this to run, which is way too fast. I need to go down to about 100, or even slower, 60. Anyway, the 5/8 has no problem. This is probably rated up to about 1/2 inch. And I got all the 5/8 holes drilled. I start them on this here Delta Milwaukee. This is probably a 70-year-old drill press. And I switch the arbor, Morse Tabor, thinking that maybe this was bent. Maybe this little steel, this is about a $10 item. You can punch this out of the chuck. And that's not what it is. It's a spindle. It's up inside. It's actually this piece here on the other drill press. It's bent, I believe. Not the, could be this too. Could be this bent, or it's probably this, I believe. The spindle which runs up through the pulley drives. Whatever it is, should throw that drill press away. Well, that's it for Heavy Metal Shop tonight. Got a few welds on here. A little bit of wire got stuck on there. There's a lot of rust in there. Anyway, that's done. And over here, needs a little paint now. Put the cutting edge on. Okay, we're putting down the tools for the night. I was going to make this a 1-part video, but I think I'll break it into 2 parts. It's going to be way too long. So, next time I'll show you the finished product. I don't think I'll show any more until I'm ready to hook the plow up. Thanks for watching. Okay, so I've jumped ahead a little bit. This is day 3. First day I didn't do very much. I just kind of pulled the frame off, but yesterday I spent the whole day cutting out these 3 bits of metal and drilling holes, and you know, I went ahead and I'm building a whole new harness. The lift frame sits on top, is the only thing that's going to go back on that was original, and having one big plate on the side just looks a lot stronger than the original design, and that's 5/8 plate. So I came back on this side And I added a third hole. Originally there was just these 2 holes with bolts, and the third one, the metal came down, kind of covered it, but there was no bolt in there. I made a new front plate with 6 holes. You know, plowing snow, it's taken pounding. 6 holes are better than 4. And over here, I had this plate cut out before, like I said, before I realized that hole was there, so I just kind of nipped out. I'm going to weld a little tab around there. I'm happy with that. And then I got to cut the front corners off down here. I got to kind of create a radius. The original one has that radius. So there's the original half the frame. That's what's left of the other half that it was pretty badly bent, so it's probably really good that I'm building all new stuff. And there's cracks all over, you can see right there. There's a crack in behind this weld. You can see that crack right there pretty easily now. And who knows how many other cracks there are. So the original design's 2 half-inch plates sandwiched together into a triangle, 3 pieces. I got 1 5/8 plate. I'm really happy with that. The only thing I might do is, instead of that square tubing that we got down here, I think I'm going to put a piece of angle, something like that, or maybe, I haven't figured it out yet, but that's coming to kind of strengthen that bottom a little bit. And there's the lift frame. So that'll get welded back on. And I didn't see any cracks, anything in there. There's nothing wrong with that part. So I burnt a little bit of the paint off, and it needs a paint job anyway from 14 years of plowing snow. So why they originally put them right on top of the headlights there. 2 headlights are covered up by that. That's one thing I never really liked, but that's what they did. There we go. It's coming. I'm going to pull, all I have to do now is turn the welder on. I've got some 6011 1/8 electrodes, and I've got 7018. I'll use whichever. I think I'm going to go with the 6011. And we're going to weld as much as we can. To pull the bolts all out, take the whole frame back off, get in behind, finish up my welding, and then I'm going to paint it. I'm going to paint it wherever it's touching the tractor, and then we'll get it back on here. And I'd like to have the plow to weld that piece in between these 2. I'd like to have the plow here. I think I mentioned that already. You might have heard that. It's kind of concerning me, because if I weld something in there and it doesn't fit on the plow, man, I am in trouble. So it's a lot easier to have the plow. We're going to go out, float the plow back here today or tomorrow, and because that's 5/8, I can add 3/8 of an inch. It had originally two 5.5-inch layers, so it's an inch thick here. So I can add at least a 3/8 of an inch. I might be able to add another 1/2-inch plate around that hole that pins to the plow, but that's a little detail. Okay, I'm going to turn the welder on. We're going to start welding. And while I'm at it, I'll show you. I just got this in the mail last night. China Post. So, I'm not a huge fan of Chinese stuff, but I tell you, it's more affordable than. I was looking for Kennametal cutters like this, and they're $100 and up, and just used they're $100. And most guys won't ship them to me. They're not anywhere near me. So I picked up a set of these, a left and right cutter. It's got the insert already in this one. Comes with 10 inserts, and each one's got 6 corners you can cut with, so 60 cutting surfaces. So I'm gonna, if these work out, I bought these for my 14.5-inch South End my home shop. So you got a left and right. I'm hoping they work out quite nicely. If I have time today, I'm going to try them in this lathe, and I'm just looking at my holders there. This is too big for this lathe. I don't think it's going to work. I'll go. So these, my little quick change tool post holder won't hold that, but I have an option. I could machine that down to fit on my milling machine. If they do, they're for the other lathe bend. They will fit in my south bend. I'm pretty sure. I hope so. And if they, like I said, if they work out really nicely, like I hope they do, I'll be buying. Maybe I'll buy a smaller set for this lathe. If this lathe can handle that, I don't know. It's pretty heavy duty stuff. First tool you should buy if you do snow removal. So it's all tack welded now. I think I can use it like that. It's pretty solid. And I think this video is getting pretty long, so I was hoping I could show you the whole thing start to finish, painted and complete, but because we have to float that plow back, I'm gonna wait. And I don't think I'll make a second part, but the next time you see this, it'll be ready for snow, I hope, later on this week. I'm planning by Friday. This is either heading out there or ready to go out there. And yeah, I'm really happy with the way that push frame turned out compared to the old design, which I never really liked that. And I don't know if I showed you this little notch I made here. There's the little notch I had to make compared to, I'll show you the other one. This is the notch they put in it, and they only really had to come down about maybe 5/8 of an inch at the most, 3/4 possible. And it creates a tremendous weak point between here and this point here, which is the failure point of this the other half of that. Okay. Didn't take much. I could have predicted that. I had to cut it off the lift frame, and that's where this, but it also broke here, so, and it's all bent. You can just see, look at the wow on that. There's no fixing that. So, that's it for that. So that's a wrap for this one. We're slowly getting ready for snow, but I wish we had a lot more done. Thanks for watching.